I'll go next. My topic is what's the most horrific thing you've seen in a movie that stuck with you? A living nightmare, a living hell.
I instantly know that.
All right.
And that is Pee-wee's Big Adventure.
Large Marge.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
That's so funny because that's what I was
man.
thinking of too, man. That scared the shit out of me.
To me, that was just like the scariest thing in the world. It's that and Lady and the Tramp.
What?
The cats. The Siamese twin cats.
Wait. Is that the we? No, that's
We Are Siamese.
That's Lady and the Tramp?
Please.
I thought that was 101 Dalmatians. I don't know these dumb movies.
Oh my god. That traumatized me. I don't know why.
101 Dalmatians?
There has to be a foil for all the dogs.
Isn't that Cruella de Vil?
Yeah, that's right. She probably had a cat somewhere. See, the one
Yeah,
I was...
Marge, man.
I like how we're jumping to different conclusions. What I was coming at, right, is I'm talking about the most horrific thing I've seen in a movie that, like, I think about sometimes that would be like a living nightmare. And what I'm going with is in John Malkovich, being John Malkovich, when at the end, John Cusack, spoiler alert, gets caught in his kid's whatever, like, brain, right? Like, he went through the door into his cell. I don't remember anymore.
I can't remember either.
But at the end of it, he's stuck in somebody else's head watching their, like, he can't do anything. He's just watching their life through their eyes. Like, he's just in their head for the rest of their life. What a fucking nightmare that would be.
Yeah.
To be conscious for, like, I'm in Colin's head the rest of his life. Jesus. Can't do anything. I just got to watch whatever the fuck this kid is doing. Terrible shit. Do I sleep? Do I just sit there for 8 hours in the dark?
Yeah.
Can I ever communicate
It's like a Dante's Inferno situation.
Being stuck in Colin's head, oh my god, I don't know if I could handle like that. Actually, I know I could not handle that.
No, you couldn't.
I'd like to be stuck in your head for like
no, you wouldn't.
certain
But you don't.
hours
See, the thing was, you didn't even know what you didn't know. He couldn't hear her thoughts or anything. So it's literally just like
You're just looking through someone's eyes.
You remember this movie, right? The end,
yeah.
Okay, all right.
Well,
I
that's the
remember.
thing that makes it even worse to me. If I could hear his thoughts, then I'd at least kind of understand what was going
Right.
on. But like, I imagine he reads a lot
What?
about things that I wouldn't understand. And
He
I
also
never
probably
would.
reads like way faster than you two, so you'd miss every other page. It would be really annoying.
This sounds bad.
Yeah, it's real bad.
That
That's
does sound
interesting. That's
horrifying.
not what I. That's not. Well, first of all, two observations. One, it's funny Tim and I came to the same conclusion because that is exactly what I thought.
Tell
of.
him Marge
I was
sent ya.
fucking horrified.
What does she
at that
do?
when I
Something
was-
happens.
really
right?
scary. She does the weird face, and
yeah.
to this day, it is like I had to look away when on the second and third and fourth time I saw that movie because I was so terrified.
It came out of nowhere, and that's what you gotta love about that movie.
Yeah, it was. That was like I used to rent that movie when I was a kid from the library, and like my sister used to be like, "All right, don't look now. It's like this is what's coming up now." I'm like,
It
"Oh."
freaked me out too.
But the second observation is just that I wasn't going there with this because there's just when you say something like this, like what parts of movies stick with you and like you don't forget, and I think about scary things. What I think about is Fire in the Sky. Do you guys remember that movie?
Yeah.
Oh my! Do you
Don't
you ever
even
see-
talk about it. Don't even. That movie. I watched that movie. So I love my parents. They're good people. They really do mean well. But they had zero concept of like what a child should watch and shouldn't watch. Like, you know, I saw movies like Predator and Alien and like RoboCop in the movie theater. Like when I was like 4 or 5. I don't even know how the hell I got in there. I just remember seeing it on the screen. And Fire in the Sky was one of those things where I rented it. I used to have a great relationship. Like, and when I say great, I mean I used to terrorize my local video store. Because remember back in the day, you used to have to reserve. They'd only get like 3 copies of something in. So like you need to reserve. So they would see me coming. And
God.
You know, I'd call up and be like, hey, I need you to get me this copy of this thing. I know it's coming out. I'd check all, the paper. And I used to have a little pamphlet when things come out. And so Fire in the Sky, I was looking forward to it. I can't remember how I used to know. Oh no, that you'd go and they would have they would have listings for like when
you would
stuff was
write it
coming
down.
out.
Damn, that
and I would
really
write
brings me
down.
back.
And so like because I had nothing else to do. I just loved movies. That was all I wanted to do. That and like Reese's peanut butter cups were my jam. So I got Fire in the Sky. No idea what it was. I knew it was like kind of scary. Parents had no idea I was renting it. I go up and they used to have a VCR in their bedroom, and I watch it, and I get to like the horrifying part where he wakes up in the weird like latex bubble cocoon and he like cuts himself out.
Yeah, by the way,
floating.
Tim doesn't know what this
I
is.
have
By the
no
way,
idea about
Fire
that.
in the
Oh my
Sky.
God.
Let's
the
explain what this
scariest
movie
thing
is first. And by the way, I saw this in the theater with my brother, and it was horrifying.
Yes.
So, and I was like 6 or 7 years old when it came out. Fire in the Sky is a movie about these dudes. It's based on a true story, apparently, about guys I think in upstate New York that are abducted by aliens.
Yeah.
They're driving on a country road and they're abducted by aliens, and it's about what the aliens do to them. It's an alien abduction movie, but it's like not a joke. Like it's fucked up.
It's not. It's,
it's totally fucked up. It's a fucked up movie.
like
And-
they have this scene. So he wakes up in this cocoon, right? Where like
And the alien walks in. He's like, either we can tell everyone on Earth you had sex with a goat,
They have a little
or
cam-
you
they
have
a little-
sex with
they have
this
a-
goat.
They bring in a goat and a camcorder, and they're just like, "What's it gonna be?" They take he's able to free himself, right? And then he looks around, and you realize that they have multiple little bays, little pods they keep people in. There's like thousands of them, right? So they've done this before, clearly, and he doesn't know what else.
This
is gonna
isn't
be in
their
there,
first
right?
rodeo.
And so he's kind of floating in space, and he gets in like one of the hallways, and then one of the aliens finds him, and it's one of those like insectoid, not insectoid, but like, you know, the big heads, like big
Mars
eyes,
attacks.
Mars attacks, but they're like really tall,
Okay.
really freaking terrifying, right? And it grabs him with like this insane brute strength and just hauls his ass down this long tunnel, and he's seeing like kids' shoes and like toys and like people's like garments all along this hallway, right? Then they just randomly throw him on this table, and they take this like sheet, like this little tiny like really thin sheet, and put it over him, and they hit a button and vacuum seals him to the table. Do you remember that part? And he's
I'll never forget a
but
second of this movie.
it's over his face, and so he's screaming. And then when it vacuum seals to him, all you can kind of hear is the muffled scream as his mouth's like going in and out, gasping for air. And they take a scalpel and they cut it open, and then they cut his eye open so that only his eye and his mouth are there.
Oh wait, they cut the hole.
They cut the
so we
hole
can
around it,
see.
so all you can see is what he can
Okay,
see.
okay.
But it's not for sight, so he can see, and his mouth's open, and they jam something down his mouth so he can breathe, and like they do all this stuff to him, and then you just see a needle start coming down,
Oh no.
and it just starts coming down, and it gets an inch, and then they cut back to him like in the normal time. Like, I mean, he's just totally screwed up for the rest of his life because of this.
Yeah.
And it's actually semi based on a true story, right?
Yeah, I mean, those guys claim that that's what happened to them.
Like, I've only seen this film once, and I remember those
That was
things.
enough.
That's how vivid it was.
Yeah, I went back and watched it in college because I was like, this movie was scarred me. Because I used to go to the movies with my brother all the time. My brother's 11 years older than me. We used to go see fun movies like TMNT or, you know, like, Batman and stuff like that. But this is one of the movies where I was like, I want to see Fire in the Sky. And he's like, all right.
DB Sweeney, right? Wasn't it him? No, yeah. Who was the main character?
I don't remember that. But that movie really was her. Like that. When I think about a movie that really fucked me up,
Yeah,
like
stuck
that was
with
one.
you.
That movie like really haunted me. It was very similar to like reading. For me, I used to read Ray Bradbury a lot. I don't know if you guys read him, like an old sci-fi writer from like the 40s and 50s. He used to write Twilight Zone episodes and stuff, but he was like a prolific sci-fi writer. And he wrote this one story about aliens that only children can see. Did you ever read this story?
Never read
Whatever.
this
Like
one.
it's all about like, if I remember correctly, like kids would go into their parents' like kitchens and steal like all of this shit. And like the parents weren't sure why. They thought they were playing. Like they'd steal a bowl and like put it over their heads and all this stuff. It ended up being that they were like giving the aliens like all of this shit, like just like supplies and all this kind of stuff, and like only the kids can see them. Anyway. Like that was the kind of shit that used to scare me. For some reason, I was always scared, even though fascinated by aliens. Like,
Well, like, but by the way, when we grew up, there was like no holds barred. We had these weird movies. Remember the movies about like trolls and dwarfs and stuff that would crawl out of holes and like mess with kids? I don't know. There was a movie called, I think it was
Troll
called
2.
Was it Troll 2? No,
It's true. That's a scary movie. Maybe.
Leprechaun,
Leprechaun was
Oh,
terrifying.
Leprechaun.
Leprechaun in the Hood.
So, by the
Not
way,
as
it
scary.
was DB Sweeney as the main character.
Let me see the poster. Do they have the poster?
Yeah, it's the one where the
remember
guy's getting
poster.
like shot
Yeah.
by the thing.
And
Also-
I love. By the way, I just love the name of that movie. Fire in the Sky is like an awesome name.
Yeah, I mean, look at this poster.
Yeah.
It's
I remember
even
that.
terrifying. The guy that directed this, apparently, by the way, went on to direct D3, The Mighty Ducks.
Oh.
That's a great
So-
connection. I want to see the poster real quick.
Go back.
Another
it's
one
right
that got
there.
me was Amityville Horror.
I never saw that.
Oh, funny.
Really? I was always in the same way like people get into aliens. I was really into ghosts, and like they scared the hell out of me, but I would still want to know more about them. And Amityville Horror is one where I remember watching at a friend's house and just being so fucking scared, like I was gonna shit my pants.
You know where Amityville is?
The island, yeah. But there's a point in that thing where the girl has like an imaginary friend, and like you're doing me wrong. Like now it's all dumb, and like movies. It's so
No,
hard to make a
it's
good
not,
ghost
though.
movie now. But like the kid's talking to this imaginary friend, and the mom comes. He's like, "Who are you talking to?" And she's like, "Jody." Oh, where's Jody now? And she's like, "She's out the window." And you look out the window. There's like two glowing eyes there. I remember that being the fucking freakiest thing.
The Amityville horror really happened, at least.
Well, they
purportedly.
but then
But-
they went back on their story, but then they went back on that story.
But the so here's a little funny story for you. Amityville is like right like a few towns away from where I grew up, and I used to go there when I was in college. When I'd go home, I was in a band called Paper Champ. We've talked about this. We used to play this place called the Village Pub, which was like downtown Amityville, and like a mile away was the Amityville Horror House. You can go see it. So like me and my friends would, we would go like walk down there before a show or whatever and like go to the house. And what's weird is like the house really is freaky. Like the house doesn't face the street. Like every house is like faces the street except for this one, like faces sideways, I think it is. And it's like there's just something off and weird about it, and we would just stand in front of it, like look at it and be like, "This is fucking totally weird." You know,
I just like, do you have like the guitars on your back? You have the drumsticks. You're totally, it's totally weird.
Long Island has like a lot of weird
People.
Yes, but like a lot of weird
Families.
Yes, but like a history, like a weird possession kind of history, like Indian burial grounds, like all sorts. Because Long Island was very, that's why all of our town names are very weird, is because of Indian tribes and stuff like that. We took those names, Hauppauge, Ronkonkoma, Patchogue, etc. And
etc. etc.
And like, so there's something creepy just about Long Island in general. Everything's kind of, see, a lot of people that are from California or even from the Midwest don't quite know what old is in American terms.
Sure.
Like where we have legitimately houses from the 1700s, like that would be unheard of out here. And like, so like when you have a whole set of these old ass houses and they just all have this kind of haunted, kind of aged historic feel to them, it makes everything a little more scary. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We also have something, we have Brookhaven National Laboratory, which is fucking ridiculous. I'm from Brookhaven, and it's like right next to us, whatever.
What is it?
It's a national lab, like super secret national lab.
Oh, okay. Like Fermilab.
Yeah, exactly. It's where the video game was invented.
Oh, okay.
And ironically, and Higginbotham lived in my town. But there's like all this, so people would like sneak into Brookhaven National Lab's land to try to like find things and like do it, and they used to get arrested and stuff like that. So the thing way out east on the Forks called Camp Hero, where there's like a huge abandoned satellite dish, and there's like all these stories about it. So there's like all this weird haunted history on Long Island that's a little bizarre. So that was always kind of part of my upbringing, was like, how freaky can you get? What is going on?
More stuff.
All right.
So
there's when I was a kid, obviously. I mean, this is when a lot of this stuff gets you right.
Yeah.
Nowadays, you've got movies like, you got movies like The Human Centipede, things like that are supposed to.
Well, that's not supposed to be scary.
No, it's me, but
I still don't know what the fuck that is.
It's a really weird movie.
What is it?
It's a movie about a deranged doctor who decides to kidnap a group of people.
It's torture porn.
It's torture porn.
It came out during the whole.
Did he stitch them together?
He stitches them together like a centipede.
Ass to mouth.
So ass to mouth.
Ass to mouth.
Yeah. And then eventually, like, one of them dies because of, like,
there was three people. If I never saw it, but I think
there are
from what I read, there's three people, and then it's ass to mouth, and then like just that was it. And then there was a sequel called the full sequence, or whatever. And then supposedly that one he just went like balls to the wall of just how disgusting can I be, and it was something like there was like 15 people in a thing, and now there's a third sequel coming out called The Final Sequence or whatever, and it's 100 people, ass to mouth.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I gotta see this.
But those movies don't really, I think back in the lineage of movies that sort of not terrified me, but really just kind of shook me. Silence of the Lambs is one of them.
Yeah.
There's the sequence where it's the guard sequence, right? And it's not the blood that gets me. It's when you realize that Hannibal Lecter has the upper hand. It's the second the guard goes to close the cage and the cuffs hit his hand, right? And then you see Hannibal Lecter, he beats the one guard to death, and then he goes over to the guard that's like basically like dying, and he picks up like the razor, right? And he's like, I forget what he says, but he says this horrible thing to the guy, and the guy's just dead. And you don't see what he does to him until later, when he strings the guy up like an angel, like a tortured angel, and cut his face off so that he could put the guard's face on his, and sneak out that way. Things like that were like really twisted, insanely intelligent things, like something you would do, like a psycho would do, but he's super smart. That's always stuff that used to freak me out, because you can't, no matter what you do, there's no defense against that, right?
Yeah, there's something about that. I mean, that's a great movie, right? Like,
fantastic.
My earliest memory of that movie was, I think like it was like I was confused about the scene where Agent Darling, whatever her name is, right? Is that her name? Starling. Yeah. Goes in. Clarice, right? Goes in like to meet Hannibal for the first time, and one of the criminals like throws
something at her.
And I was like, what?
Something.
And I was like,
what
is that? Like as a kid or whatever, I did not understand what was going on in that scene until like I was like 20 probably.
Yeah.
But there's always this, like we talked about, there's just a trifecta of things that are always scary in film, right? It's religion is always creepy.
Oh yeah.
Right? And to me, history is always creepy when they use it right, and kids.
Yeah.
Oh gosh. That leads me to my next, the thing that probably left indelible marks on me was Poltergeist. The part There's like 9 parts in that movie. Well, I'm sure we'll get to all of them. The part with the clown, to this day, has me still looking out of my bed. Like, I could not deal with that scene. Like, when the clown comes to life and drags the kid under the bed. And it's just like, don't do that. There's also, and this is why Steven Spielberg back in the day, and still to this day, of course, is amazing. But back in the day, he just had those, like, he would really know how to set the scene. And they had those, they didn't want to leave the house, right? Because Carol Ann was missing. And they had those haunting moments where she was like speaking to them from the TV, right? And Mary Jo Beth's like, Carol Ann, and she's like, Mom, and you hear that kind of like resonating, crazy like techno sound from like the beyond, right? But then they end up staying in the house, right? Because they call in like the clairvoyant, and she comes in and she's like, this house, it's clear. But she starts speaking really softly and really slowly, and it's really freaky.
Yeah,
because you're kind of like dolling in on her like really slowly the whole time as she's sort of talking about like what's going on. And simultaneously though, you do feel a crazy sense of like warmth and home, which is why I thought that like everything he did in that movie was phenomenal, but still terrifying. And at the end, the damn house like engulfs itself.
Yeah,
it's a scary movie. There's so much movie. In that. The talking to the TV, like just the scene where the kid's talking to the TV, and like you don't see what she sees, you know.
It's my favorite part of the movie has always been that the parents just don't stop getting stoned ever. That's like the whole thing in that movie is like they're always in their bedroom just smoking weed like constantly. I was like, all right, well that's how you're gonna deal with that.
Just kill it. They also had another amazing scene. I think it was in Poltergeist 2 with the worm. Do you remember that one? Might have been the third one. There's a part where Craig T. Nelson's drinking tequila to cope, and the worm at the bottom of the tequila bottle kind of wakes up and looks around and then goes down his throat and like possesses him. Freaky stuff. Yeah, it's a good. I
mean, my favorite. I think we've talked about this on the show before. My favorite scary movie is still Rosemary's Baby and The Shining are like 2 and 3.
Well, those are classic.
But my favorite is Children of the Corn still, like because Children of the Corn is based on a Stephen King short story. But I just fucking love the premise of that movie.
What? I don't think I've ever seen Children of the Corn. What's the premise of it?
It's about have you seen it before?
Yeah,
it's an excellent movie. It's a short story. You should read it too. But it's a great movie. It's about a doctor, like a young kid who's like 28 and he just became a doctor, and like his girlfriend, he just graduated, and they're like driving home like across country, and they like end up in this town in like Oklahoma or something like that, or Texas. And it's like they're having car trouble, and they like pull into it's Gatling is the name of the
okay.
And what the movie's about is like the kids in the town, like all the young kids basically took the town over, killed all the adults, and like revere these 2 kids, like older kids, as their god. And so like they've maintained like the facade of this town for like 2 years, and no one knows anything's wrong because they have like a few adults that they've left alive that like keep everyone at bay and make things seem normal. But like really like
that's freaky.
Have, and they meet in the cornfield or whatever, like, and they like commune in this cornfield where this guy Isaac, who's like the kid that they all revere, is like a god, and they have like all this weird like religious imagery and shit like that. It's like so fucked up.
Yeah, I remember that movie being really just like,
it's awesome,
freaky to the point of where it's like I don't know what's happening really. Like I don't know what all this shit means, but that scares me even more. Like not understanding this is scary to me.
It surprised me that you have never seen that.
No, I never have. I've always wanted
to. It's on Netflix.
Another, maybe I'll check it out tonight. Actually, I mean, Stephen King, basically everything he did freaked me out. But the thing that actually, one of the ones that I do now remember that stuck with me was, do you remember It?
Yes. Yeah.
That was the first time I legitimately remember thinking, I cannot watch this. I can't finish this. I don't know. I shouldn't be watching this. Mm-hmm. And I can't remember if it was a movie or a miniseries. I feel like it was like a 3-part like miniseries. Yeah, you might be right. TV,
that and The Stand were both.
What was The Stand?
The Stand was the post-apocalyptic book he wrote. About like the virus or whatever, and it's about like different people that survive it or whatever. It's a great book.
I should check that out.
That's a fantastic book. It's long, but it's good.
No, it
yeah. So The Stand was like a mini series on TV.
Okay, yeah, they did a lot of those, but it was one of those where I started watching it and I was hooked, and then as it kept going, I was like, this is really terrifying. This is like, and I'm sure I'm remembering it through a child's eyes because I'm sure if I watched it today, I'd be like, oh, Tim Curry is the clown.
Yeah. That's the way I feel about some of the things I've seen. I mean, like, yeah, I used to be. What was that one horror series that I used to be horrified of? The Hellraiser.
Oh, those were kind of weird though.
Yeah, they were weird, like Lawnmower Man and all that kind of shit. Like I was like, there were certain movies like when I go back and watch them now, I'd be like, this
Lawnmower Man was
Puppeteer scared me. Was it called Puppeteer?
Yeah, the Puppeteer.
Where there was those little toys and stuff. That scared me because of the animation.
Yeah,
like how they looked, it was like kind of claymation, but kind of not. And like it was so jerky, and like it looked freakishly like that's how I imagine toys would move.
Yeah,
you know,
like they only have like 3 joints.
Yeah, where it's just really jerky and weird, and like
the worst.
That was scary.
That was the worst.
I'm gonna give just a special shout out real quick. It's not a horror movie, but I want to give a special shout out to Alive, because that was another movie that used to scare me when I was.
Man, being stuck in the Alps.
Wait a minute, that's crazy. I was gonna bring that up earlier too. As one of like when they had to eat them like each other. That's something that stuck with me. When Greg initially brought this up, I was like, that will forever stick with me.
Yeah, Alive is
the first thing when I was like, whoa,
that's a creepy movie.
Well, that'd be a fun topic for the next show. Would you eat me if we were stuck in the Alps?
I don't know. I've thought about that situation before. Just generally, like, would you be accountable, like the Donner Party, right?
Yeah.
Like,
I probably would.
I mean, will you do what you have to do? I guess. Like, there's such a faux pas of eating human in our society, most societies, which is understandable.
Yeah.
There's some societies that's not looked down upon. I don't think it's like a societal moray issue. I just think it's we're like the apex, like the alpha, the apex predator. Like, we don't eat our own, you know?
Yeah.
And we're also self-aware.
Yeah. So it'd be a little freaky to eat, Colin.
Yeah.
I'd eat you though. I'd probably take a slice of you. I'd go
pretty
you
good.
before I'd go Greg.
Really?
Yeah.
I feel like Greg's got a lot of good meat on him.
I want some of that Italian beef.
Yeah, I don't know if it translates so well when it gets to like the exterior parts.
Yeah.
You know.
Mm.
Greg tastes like a hot dog. That's what I heard. And beer.
He just tastes exactly like beer and Pachis.
Yeah, for me, going back to the kids, it's not a movie, but the game Fatal Frame 2. Did you play that? Crimson Butterfly. Yeah. Looking at it now, it's like, okay, whatever. This is stupid. This is not scary at all. When I first played it, I think I was 11, and it's old for being scared by things like that. But it's the story of these 2 little girls. I don't even remember exactly the details, but it's like 2 twin girls or something, and they have the camera, and like you take pictures of ghosts and shit, and like you can only see the ghosts through the camera. And I remember playing it, and it was more of a situational thing where in the house that I was living at the time, the only place I could play games was in this back room that had a lot of sun in it. And so there was a lot of glare on the screen, and it was really hard to see. And it was me and my friend sitting there trying to like make out what the path we were supposed to be going on, but you couldn't really see because like there was so much glare, which just made it so much scarier. And we're dead quiet playing, and the controller didn't vibrate for the entire game. And we walk up to this door, and it just starts shaking. I didn't know it was going to shake. I've never been more scared in my life, and I had nightmares about that. And that's the first thing I can think of.
Fatal Frame.
Fatal Frame
was a good one.
Yeah, and that was crazy.
Are you done?
Yeah.
You missed a good topic.
I'm sorry. Was it Colin's?
It was your topic.
Oh yeah, I enjoyed most of what I heard.
It was good.
Then I had to leave for the One Piece.